everyone! I'm sure you already know by the title of this video that today I am filming a dolly transformations video for you guys. I know that I had said in my last episode of Dolly Diaries that we weren't going to the flea market anymore and therefore we wouldn't be getting secondhand dolls, so there wouldn't be transformation videos because we were trying to save money. Well, we're still trying to not buy dolls so much right now just for financial reasons, but I had a dentist appointment yesterday afternoon, and not far from my dentist's office is one of our favorite thrift stores, and we don't go there too often. We had to stop in, and we actually had really good luck. So there's quite a bit of stuff in this bag, and I'm not really sure how much each individual item cost because some of the things were labeled and some of the things weren't. It was like a mess in there. They had all of these containers in the toy room and it was all just completely disorganized. There was literally like doll body parts all over the place. But we got all of these dolls, and my sister got 8 Babysitters Club books for $13-ish, which wasn't bad in my opinion. So I don't know who these dollies are right now, so I thought I would actually kind of walk you through how I identify dolls. So I have 2 of the books here that I'm going to be using. I have an entire video from last year about all my collector books for Barbie and other dolls. So if you check my collections and displays playlist, it's in there. And I just talk about each book in my collection and also like what they're good for and if they were worth the money. I also have a video on how I identify and inventory dolls too. And in that video, in the description, I list all of the websites that I use for doll ID. So I'll move the camera over so you guys can see them and we can identify them together, and then we'll go through the regular makeover process. So we have these 2 Skipper dolls. And then I do know who this doll is. This is the first edition Poopsie Pets Avery. And then there's this AA Barbie that I'm going to have to look up. And yeah, we dressed her in layers of clothes. And then the last doll is this Mrs. Hart, and I'm pretty sure she is the birthday one. We have the Mr. Hart that goes with her and the baby girl. The clothes, which I'll show you up close, but we did get an American Girl item. This is like the 2nd or 3rd time we found American Girl clothes, and it was $1.50 for Samantha's bathing suit, which I already have, but anytime I see American Girl clothes that cheap, I always buy them. There was just a bunch of loose clothes and shoes, so I kind of picked out some things and stuck them in this bag for 75 cents. I mean, I don't even know how they expected to sell the stuff. It was so disorganized. I have some like Bratz shoes and some Monster High clothes and some Bratz clothes and some Barbie things. The Ultimate Barbie book is my favorite. It doesn't cover all the Barbies. It only goes up to like most of the dolls in 95, but it's a really good starting point, especially for like a lot of the dolls that I personally collect. Now this to me looks like an AA Barbie, not a Christy doll. She reminds me a lot of these Fun to Dress dolls from my first Barbies, and I would be correct. She looks exactly like 1990 Fashion Play Barbie, and I actually thought she was this doll because I remember seeing one of these at the flea market box a long time ago, and my dad offered to buy me her. Her head is like missing the ball, and I'll have to shrink up the hole in her head, but she's in really nice shape. Other than that, I have plenty of outfits for her. 30 Years of Mattel Fashion Dolls book. Also one of my favorites. This has a whole section of Hart Family, and this is exactly why I bought this book, was for the Hart Family stuff. Birthday Momma. Ooh, show me earrings. Yep. And actually, I got her little boy's outfit. I found part of it, and I also found part of Mr. Hart's outfit, which is cool. Although our Mr. Hart already has his outfit, but you know, hey, can't go wrong. Now I'm going to have to look on eBay for these dolls. Okay, so I'm on eBay, and I'll show you guys how I kind of try to do this as efficiently as possible. So I typed in Skipper doll on eBay, and there's like almost 10,000 listings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow the search to new, because these are newer Skippers and I want to see them packaged, because a lot of these dolls are harder to identify, so I'm not going to be looking at any loose listings. Sometimes I go on the Mattel website too, which I'll show you that. So I go to the Mattel instruction sheets, and then I'll type in Skipper, This is also a good way because this has recent things. Sometimes we also accidentally buy duplicates because they're so generic looking. I'm gonna check out my own Skipper album on Flickr. Shameless self-promotion. Actually, no, I really do. It's easier than having to dig the doll out. And since I have them all documented with like their facial close-ups, this is just really easy for me to do. But this lady, she might be... Yep, I'm pretty sure. This is just another carnival Skipper. And we have her pants. So, see, sometimes things like this happen, and that's okay. Colleen doesn't mind. I don't know why I'm wearing Brat's pants. Let me just make sure what we have here. Bend and snap legs, bend arm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's her. So she's amusement park Skipper. So I have finished identifying everyone, and I always write a list of the doll's body info and like their country make because I keep track of this on Flickr so people have it for reference. And then these are like my little sticky notes for my written inventory. I keep a printed out copy of my inventory on my computer just in case something happens to the file, and that actually has occurred in the past. Okay, so I have my laundry tubs ready. Now, if you're wondering why I have 2 buckets, it's because I'm going to wash this Samantha dress. Now, American Girl stuff is like Bratz clothes. It's like very high quality, or like vintage Barbie. So it tends to bleed like crazy. So if I were to buy something like off eBay that was in really nice shape, I wouldn't wash it, even though most of the time I wash anything secondhand. This smells weird because that thrift store is dirty and I don't know where it's been. So I put 2 color catchers in with it, and I'm going to wash it by itself just in case it bleeds. Alright, so I have everyone undressed and ready to go. I'm not going to let those clothes sit too long because it's warm in my house today because of the wood stove. So I don't want the water to heat up too much just from the heat in the house, because the warmth is what makes a lot of dyes bleed. Just explain what I use really quickly in case you're new to the channel. I use dish soap to clean the body and a shampoo just because the smell lasts a long time and it has like antibacterial properties, especially with these dolls. They're really smelly. So I wash the hair twice. And then to also clean the body, I use baking soda. That's what I keep in these little bowls, if you're ever wondering. And I scrub that in with a toothbrush, just for dolls. I also use conditioner to detangle. I will never attempt to like dry brush a doll because it's just going to cause damage. And I have a wide tooth comb and a fine tooth comb for boil washing. Whoops. And then this is diluted gel in a water bottle, so it's like 2 or 3 little squirts of gel mixed with warm water, and I just use this to drizzle over after the boil wash. You don't want to use this before. I've been asked this because once you put it in the boil wash, it's just going to dissolve. So you want to put this on last if you want to try it out. And I also rinse them in cold water before I put this on. So I'm going to start cleaning them, and I do have to reattach Barbie's head over here, but I'm going to make that a separate tutorial. So I'll show you each doll up close. Whoops. We have Surprise Party Mrs. Hart, and you can see she has kind of a mullet thing going on. Now, ordinarily with like a pretty severe haircut like this, I would use this doll as a body donor because, you know, I need to get bodies from somewhere, and it's so very expensive to like reroot and very time consuming. You just can't save every doll, or you wouldn't have parts for nice ones. But since I like specifically collect Hart family and I don't find them too often, like the grown-ups anyways, I find the kids all the time. And since I can tell her saran hair is in really good shape, and I don't know, I just feel something for this doll. So I'm going to save her. I'm going to partially reroot with some hair I have. And then we have this is Amusement Park Skipper, quote unquote. She didn't really have a name, but this is one like my sister already has. Her connect lawn's kind of tragic. This is a ponytail Skipper. That's why she has the articulating legs, which I figured she did some kind of activity. And her hair's not super bad. And then, excuse Poopsie Pet's Avery, I forgot to show you what they looked like before. So she's just had her hair washed, but her nylon's not very nice anyways. And then this is Fashion Play Barbie, who is in okay shape other than the whole being disembodied thing. So I'm still in the process of cleaning some dolls. Mrs. Hart is taking me a little longer than expected. Poor Mama. She is really dirty and I need to scrub her extra to get off the grub. While I was working on her, I had the boil wash water going, and since these dolls are Connect-One, their boil washes only take like a few seconds each. It's mostly just combing and smoothing. So I'm going to show you how much gel I use when I boil wash, because usually I kind of do it super fast. I tend to use a lot of this stuff on Connect-One hair dolls. This is very, very diluted. If you had like too much gel in here, it would make the hair sticky, but I've mastered the art of the perfect solution so that it makes the hair shiny and like weighs it down a bit so there aren't flyaways. And it also smells good. So I'm going to start with like her bangs, and I'm going to like load them up. And then I'm going to focus especially at the top of her head, and then drizzle down, flip her over, and drizzle. And I'm going to let her kind of drip out, and I'm going to do the same thing, focus on her bangs, and up on the scalp. Go down, flip her over, just kind of like squeegee off a little bit of the excess, and then I'm just going to comb it through. So I have the last two dolls in the boil wash. I have Momma, and I have my Fashion Play Barbie, and I did reattach her head already, which, like I said, there will be a tutorial on that. So I'm going to wash these plastic pieces, and I wash them the same way I wash doll bodies. So just with dish soap, baking soda, and a toothbrush. I especially like to focus on the big shoes, like big boots, brat shoes, Mycene shoes, because they hold a lot of crud. Ordinarily, if I had a bunch of really tiny shoes, I would just put them in soapy water with dissolved baking soda for a little while, but these are mostly like larger shoes. Just get a few, scrub them, and then I just rinse them in water. Rinse them well. Baking soda kind of leaves a powdery residue. Whoops, if you don't wash it well enough. And then I'll just pound out the water from the inside of the shoes really quickly before I leave these to dry, and I'm going to finish washing up the rest of the shoes, and I'll check in with you later. So, I have the clothes drying in a kind of different place today. So we're in the basement, and I have a little drying rack out, and I have like some of the things that are bigger hanging just straight off the bar, and then some of the other things off the wire hangers. And the reason why is because the wood stove is now down here, so obviously it's a really safe distance away, but the heat from the wood stove will dry these clothes pretty quickly, so I'm just going to leave them here to dry instead of putting a fan on them. But the dolls are upstairs on the bed. Now I'm going to flat iron Avery. She has nylon hair, and people ask me all the time when it comes to nylon hair what the best thing to do is, and honestly, flat ironing. I always boil wash before a flat iron because it does like take out some of the bulk and it can reduce some of the frizz, but most of the time, especially with like, you know, the nylon on Moxie girls or brats, it's not going to do much. So Mrs. Hart is all dry, and I meant to take her head off of her body while she was getting boil wash, but that's okay because this next step will probably be easier to do with her head on. Her hair quality is actually really nice, but you can see that like almost her entire like crown area has been chopped off. I don't have this dusty brown color of hair, and I'm not gonna like, you know, buy special hair for this. Like I said, rerooting is expensive, but because I really like this doll, she's in really good shape other than the hair, and what's left of her hair is in really good shape. I'm going to put some of this leftover Rhapsody Red Saran hair, which I think I got this from Dolly hair. This is what I used to reroot one of my Megan dolls and two of my PJs, so I have some left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to remove the stub. So now that I have separated and cut down all of the chopped bits, I'm now letting her head soak in hot water. And part of why I didn't like trim off those bits right after she came out of the boil wash is because it's easiest to see them when the hair is dry because it separates more. So now I have to remove all of the stubble on her hair. And this is going to be a little trickier just because I want to make sure not to like accidentally yank any of her good hair that I want to keep. So I have to be really precise. So I've removed all the hair, and she did unfortunately get a few little split plugs up here, but it's nothing too awful. And usually for this, I'll just wrap these knotted hair bits. I just make them a little bit thicker, and that works out fine for me. It's pretty common to happen along the part line, especially since her holes are so close together. And I made sure to scrape out as much of the like excess hair. It is really hard only removing like the stubble from a section like this. You can see like how much of it was cut though. So I just used my needle nose pliers around the areas where it was like close to the long hairs, just so I had like that precision. So I just pulled it from the outside, and that worked pretty well. I only lost a few little long hairs right along this side, but it's not a big deal. So I have a few knotted hairs put together, and then I have the rest over here. So I'm probably going to end up having to use all of it, but I'm just going to start and kind of get a feel for how much, and I'll check in with you later. So this is the next day. I would have been able to finish her yesterday, but I ended up having like a ton of extra stuff to do at the farm, and Colleen worked late, so I just really didn't have the energy by the time I got home to do the final touches. So right now she's rocking the porcupine hair, and you can see her factory hair underneath. So I have to thatch her at parting. Some people don't thatch, they just like put extra hair where they want the part to be, but I personally prefer like the factory look. I finished all of that hair. That bag is completely empty now. I don't have any more of that color. As I was getting to the end, just to make sure that I had even coverage in case I ran out of hair, I counted the number of hair plugs I had left, and I counted the number of knotted hair strands I had left, and I made sure to like place them in the best spots. So there are a few like holes I had to skip here and there, but nothing major. I think it was like less than 10 I had to kind of leave empty, and if you play with it all regularly, they lose that kind of hair anyways, so it's like all full around her hairline and around her part line, so it looks weird right now. I'm going to thatch her, and then I'm going to have to curl her hair so it all matches and set the style. I have finished thatching, and if you're wondering why her hair is wet, it's because I needed to boil wash the thatching to set it. So basically I was using clips and stuff to secure it while I was thatching, and then after I was done, I smoothed it out, put an elastic band around her head, heated up some water for a few minutes until it was bubbling, and then I just dunked the top part of her head in water. And I did this for a few minutes, then I combed it smooth, dunked it again, and that was just to set the part. Now, I like to do this because I spent all that time thatching, and I don't want it to like come undone, and I want it to lay as naturally as possible because I have to actually curl her new hair with her old hair to make it blend. I've done this before on one of my fun to dress Barbies that needed a partial reroot. It just makes it look a lot more natural than having these straight bits. Before I go ahead and start rolling her hair in curlers, I wanted to wash her hair too. Now, I don't see a lot of people do this, but whenever I reroot it all, I always like wash their hair twice with dish soap, and I comb the soap through, and then I condition it. And the reason for this is because, my hands have been like handling her hair for several hours, and not only is her old hair that I just cleaned dirty now, but also like, her new hair, it's been sitting on the table, it's brand new, I want to take good care of it basically. So normally I would do that step and then immediately boil wash, but I didn't want to put the curlers in and then wash it because, well, that wouldn't really work out. So I have these rollers. These are actually perm rods from cosmetology school, because I went to cosmetology school, and I'm going to make hers kind of thinner, and I'm just going to take like chunks of her old hair and her new hair, and I'm going to take my perm papers, and I'm just going to roll them like away from her face, and I'm not going to go like all the way up, I'm just going to go a few. So I heated this water up in the microwave until it was very hot and bubbling. And now I'm just going to place her head into the boil wash. And I'm literally going to leave her here for probably a good 5 minutes because she has saran hair. Now, if this was connect lawn hair, you wouldn't need to leave it in that long because connect lawn hair responds really well to heat. In fact, that's why with American Girl dolls, they also have connect lawn hair, why you can just wet set their hair and not use hot water at all. Now, I obviously use hot water if I want like a permanent look on my American Girls. For saran hair, it doesn't work that way. It's much weightier and more resistant to heat. So the key to getting curls to stay in saran hair is to make the water really hot, like make sure it's bubbling, and then to leave the doll in there for as long as possible until the water is cooled off, basically, because the longer you leave it, the more it's going to set the style. So I'm going to check in with you guys when the water has cooled down and show you the next step. So I've rinsed Mrs. Hart with cold water and I've removed her from the boil wash bowl, obviously. So I'm going to gel her curls. I'm going to kind of go like one roller at a time. So I don't want her curls to be like crazy tight. So I'm actually going the rollers out now. Also, it'll dry faster this way. So I'm going to make Mama Hart some earrings while her hair dries. And I have my Perfume Pretty Whitney doll up here because she needs new earrings too. She's an old doll. We changed her recently and I'm bored of the original earrings I made her. So she's going to be my like little size reference here. I also want to show you guys this really quickly because a lot of people are concerned about the handmade earrings I make my dolls. And I've had this Whitney over here for, I want to say 4 years at least, since 2013 probably. And these are the posts that I put in her ears back when I made her earrings in 2013. And you can see there's nothing on them. And likewise, her ears check out totally okay. So yes, you do need to be aware that any kind of metal you put in your doll can in theory, it can corrode and turn green and stuff. Sorry, my camera cut out when I was talking about the earrings, but just to sum it up, that yes, it is always a risk with putting metal in your dolls, whether it's for repair or for some kind of like handmade jewelry. And I would never like want to say something's entirely safe when it isn't, because obviously it's not about like being right, it's about doing what's best for the dolls. And yes, it is an issue and it is something you should check your dolls regularly for, just to be sure. But I have made hundreds and hundreds of pairs of doll earrings. Like you can look on my Flickr and my earrings album, and that's like most of them. And I have tons and tons of collages of all the earrings I've made, and I've never had an issue except on my Bubble Cut Barbie, who is my oldest Barbie, and that's because those dolls use a different type of plastic. And so I had that doll for, I don't know, anywhere from like 3 to 6 months. I had made her earrings, and in that time frame she got green ear, whereas all of my other dolls have had earrings for years. Like some of my brats have had it for, you know, like over 5 years, and there's no sign of anything going on. Same with Barbies, and I've made earrings for my early 70s Barbies and not had this issue. I, generally speaking, would say it's safe, but it is something to keep in mind, and it's definitely not good for your early 60s Barbies. I'm going to show you the dolls because they are all set and looking good. Just to start off, I thought I'd show you Whitney's earrings that I made, because I really like how they turned out, and I think they look super cute with this outfit. And then these are just some of the duplicates and variants that I need for Flickr photos. So this is my other Fashion Play Barbie, the blonde. And then this is my sister's other Carnival Skipper. This is the African American Fashion Play Barbie that I got, and I love her. She is so cute. I love my blonde, but she's way cooler. If you watched my tutorial on how to reattach neck articulations, then you would have already seen what she looks like at the end, but if you didn't, here she is. And then this is Poopsie Pets Avery. I love her, and her outfit is actually really amazing quality. These are 2 different shirts, and that's what her hair looks like. It did need to be flat ironed. And then this little bow thing, this is actually a handle from one of my music festival vibes dolls, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of looks like Lisa Frank, if you ask me. And then we have amusement park skipper. Colleen suggested that I dress her in one of them in this teen co outfit, and it looks really, really cute. And I think she's actually a little prettier than our old doll. And then this is a ponytail skipper. She's really cool, and you can see their hair looks perfectly sleek in the back. Da 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 da! Mama Hart. She looks like a new woman. So glad she has her original dress, and you can see her face paint is beautiful, and I really like these little earrings I made. And then this is what a reroot looks like. So ordinarily I'm not very great with thatching parts, but I've gotten better the more I've done, so I'm actually pretty pleased with how that came out. And then this is what the back of her hair looks like, all curly. It's a little bit damp in spots still, but... And it blends in really nicely with her factory hair, and it's nice and curly and bouncy. So she's like a new woman, and I think this red color looks amazing with her. So I'm so glad I could save her. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will have pictures of these dolls on my Flickr at some point, probably not before you guys watch this. And if you want to see any of the tutorials that I've made in the past that kind of teach you how to do some of these things, like boil washing, flat ironing, rerooting, I mean, you name it, I have a tutorial for it. So check out my tips and tutorials playlist here on YouTube if you want to know anything additional. So until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.